Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and I wanted to go ahead and share what I've built so far in regards to my voice attack profile. Now, keep in mind, what you're going to see in here is only the commands used to control power. So if you have other stuff in your own profiles, you're going to need to add those into this, or put these into your own profiles. Either way, you can only really run one active profile at a time. Now, there's a link to the Gamefront description below, and you can go there to actually download this profile. Now, before we get into a whole lot of details on this, I want to talk about how well this works. And in regards to staying off the radar and kind of being able to sneak up on people, I've noticed a really significant improvement. You know, I've been able to fly past people without them seeing me. Now, keeping an eye on them is important, but, you know, I've noticed that they've turned around, you know, after they've passed me. Like, at some point, they picked me up. This isn't foolproof, though, and when there's a lot of open sight lines, people are still going to pick you up and come after you. So it's really best to use asteroids to your advantage, you know, sneak around the edges, then kind of pick your engagements that you want to get into. Make sure that you're keeping an eye on those that are keeping an eye on you, because with your shields down, you're a very easy target flying in a straight line. Now, I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll come up with some best practices for a later video, but I wanted to get this out for all of you as soon as possible. Now, I think what we're all hoping for was for this to be a great fix to missiles, a good way to evade missiles. Well, it doesn't really work. Now, it's not too bad in that I've had some very limited success, you know, with longer range missile shots, but in most situations, the missiles are still able to track you. Now, even after they've fixed them, and they've talked about fixing them to a point where they're not going to be one-hit kills, that's going to be done by allowing the shields to absorb a lot of damage. Now, flying with these profiles, your shields are down. So, if that's not there to actually absorb the hit, you're going to be in some trouble. So, maybe I'll work on some new profiles where maybe you're only cutting your IR sources, like your engines or your thrusters. But for the time being, we're going all quiet in these setups. Now, in regards to these profiles, there's a couple things to take note of. First off, these are for the stock number of hardpoints. So, if you're adding a canard turret or another weapon that the default setup doesn't have, you're going to need to either pick another profile that's similar, you know, another ship that I've got built in there for you, or go in and just edit it to meet your needs. You'll kind of see how I've got it all set up, and you can kind of figure it out from there. Now, if you make changes to the ship and not to the profile, you're going to have problems. Now, that shouldn't just impact just changing weapons, but when you add more, that's the problem, because you're adding on more hardpoints, and I've got different clicks and stuff that are all set that aren't going to line up at that point. Now, in regards to the commands, both the power down and full power commands are identical. You know, I like to have one for each so I can kind of keep my brain straight. But if you find it easier, just delete one and name it something that is maybe more like a toggle, like update power, or something that works for you. Some ships do have shields that take a little bit to power down, you know, most notably the Cutlass and the Super Hornet. Now, trust me, give it some time and they will power down. It takes longer than you would expect. Now, if they don't ever power down, something's wrong with the setup, and let me know and I can see if I can adjust it for you. Now, they power up immediately, but it's almost like it needs time to kind of discharge the energy or something kind of weird like that. The F-7C does that a little bit too, but it's not to the same extreme of those other two, the Cutlass and the Super Hornet. So every ship has its own command. So Delta, power down, Avenger, full power, you know, those types of things. And I've got it set to the number of hardpoints in the power, so use the appropriate one. You know, for example, if you use Super Hornet power down and you're running a Mustang Alpha, it's not going to know what the hell to do. You know, I have all of them in there that I've got access to, you know, so I don't have things like the M50 or the 350, but as I get access to them, I'll add more in, you know, whenever I can get my hands on it and change them. But you'll see in the commands, they're all labeled based on the ship, so you'll see which ones I've actually got. If nothing else, take a look at a ship that's got similar hardpoints to what you're running, and then you can kind of make the adjustments on your own. Also, some of the ship-specific profiles have some pauses built into them, and I did that because there appears to be like a certain cadence that works for each ship, you know, or at least some of them. And you know, if you do it too fast or you go through the motions too fast, they don't all get selected and turned off, and then it becomes an even bigger issue when you try and turn them all back on, and then different things are on and different things are off. So I've customized a bunch of them, you know, in combat. But just know they haven't all been tested in the heat of battle. You know, I've tested all of them in free flight, and they all work as is. That being said, some haven't responded as well in Battle Royale, and I've been changing those and tweaking those and adding pauses. So I'll be updating these as I play more. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm at STLYoungblood. I'm not, I guess it's kind of a shameless plug, but it's for the purpose of, it's the easiest way for me to update you when I make updates to this voice attack profile so you can get the most up-to-date version. Finally, I wanted to explain the first time command in a little bit more detail. And without this command, you would be starting on the power management triangle. The reason that I've got it set this way is because it correlates with the other commands, and it always starts back at the right location. Basically, it resets to the very first weapon group. Now, without this command, you would be changing your first weapon the very first time you used it. Then the next time you would be changing maybe like your shields the second time. And then maybe the third time you'd be changing the thrusters. The commands wouldn't really know what next step there should be. It's not going to follow the right order. So you really do need to use first time, but you only need to use that when you initially spawn into the game. After that, even if you die, you should still have your first weapon selected, and the command should work fine after that. You know, I know it's a little bit wonky, but it works. So basically, you spawn into a game, your ship spins up, just say first time. Then, you know, set your trajectory, say Avenger, power down. Let's say you crash into an asteroid and die. You respawn, you just have to say Avenger power down. You don't need to say first time again. So that's pretty much it. You know, it's an interesting tool that's got some mixed results, but it's going to be more interesting to see as some of the missiles get fixed and the way they track. You know, if you notice something that's not working, give me some specifics and I'll test it out. But remember that, you know, not all ships have been combat tested, so there's going to be some kinks in there. Now, I'm going to iron out the details and get out updates as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, go, have fun, test it out, and let me know what you think. So like I said, pretty much it. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for a whole lot more, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.